Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just summoned every top general and admiral to Washington, something that only happens when war is on the table. So is this just routine, or is Washington quietly gearing up with a war with Russia? Let's take a look at this. This is from the Washington Post saying that Defense Secretary, they're still calling him the Defense Secretary, but remember, he renamed himself the Secretary of War. As Pete Hegseth has ordered hundreds of the U.S. military's generals and admirals to gather on short notice and without a stated reason at a Marine Corps base in Virginia next week, sowing confusion and alarm after the Trump administration's firing of numerous senior leaders this year. The highly unusual directive was sent to virtually all of the military's top commanders worldwide, according to more than a dozen people familiar with the matter. It was issued earlier this week. In a statement Thursday, Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell affirmed that Hegseth will be addressing his senior military leaders, but he offered no additional details. Parnell said a senior advisor to the defense secretary voiced no security concerns about the Washington Post reporting on the meeting scheduled for Tuesday in Quantico, Virginia. It was not immediately clear whether the White House is involved with the meeting or if President Trump also intends to be there. A spokesperson referred questions to the Pentagon. So clearly the administration is okay with people finding out about this, which makes us wonder, what is the point of this meeting? Why would they be calling all of the top generals, all the top brass, all the top admirals to Virginia next week? Could it be war with Russia? Signs are pointing to yes. I mean, of course, it could just be Pete Hegseth wanting to do some hardcore PT and drink some drink some beers with the boys or whatever. I mean, that's what he's been going around doing. I could hope that that's all that this is. It would be, it would be really ridiculous and stupid, but it would be much better than the alternative, which is potentially we're marching into a war with Russia. If Pete Hegseth is just calling them all together to, have a little bit of a bonding session over some PT. But instead, this is what we're getting from the Kremlin. The Kremlin is accusing NATO of directly being involved in the war, not just it being a proxy war, but being directly involved, which is why the alarm bells are raising that this could actually mean war with Russia is actually on the table. We've heard Donald Trump over the last couple of days talking about there is no negotiation anymore with Russia, essentially, that he believes Ukraine can win and take back all of the territory, and that he's going to be supplying Ukraine with all the weapons they need. That rhetoric that we just saw earlier this week, mixed with now the Russians sending drones and fighter jets into NATO airspace, mixed with what Lavrov just said today, makes me think we're actually marching towards an actual hot war. After 75 years of a Cold War, we might actually be marching right into a hot war with Russia this time. Russian Foreign Minister, this is from Newsweek, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Thursday per a public telegram board that NATO and the European Union are waging war against Russia, quote, using Ukraine as a proxy and, quote, directly participating in the conflict. So no longer just Ukraine as a proxy, but NATO is directly waging war with Russia. And do we think Russia's not going to fight back? Lavrov's comments follow repeated Kremlin claims that Western military and financial support for Ukraine amounts to direct hostility toward Russia. Yes, they've been saying that, but I think Newsweek's getting this wrong. Whoever wrote this piece, he's clearly saying that they're directly participating. It's not just proxy war, but directly participating. The announcement also comes amid repeated drone incursions into NATO allies' airspace. NATO warned Russia on Tuesday that it was prepared to defend every inch of allied territory after Estonia said that Russian fighter jets had violated its airspace last week. The incursion followed a similar incident in Poland earlier this month, where around 20 drones from Moscow entered Polish airspace. Just this week, Denmark reported multiple drone incidents at critical infrastructure points as a Russian landing ship was discovered lurking off the Danish coast. So it could be that Russia is very much about gearing up to be engaged in war, and the U.S. is now gearing up to being engaged in war. That's a real possibility. I mean, the signs are pointing to this. I don't mean to scare you, but that is where the signs are pointing. This is NATO Secretary Mark Rutte talking about the incursion into Estonian airspace.
Sure that we can always defend and deter where necessary. We are a defensive alliance, yes, but we are not naive. So we see what is happening, and whether it is intentional or not. If it is not intentional, then it is blatantly incompetence. Of course, even if it is incompetence, we still have to defend ourselves. And as no immediate threat was assessed here in this case, shooting down the mix was not necessary. And of course, what we will always do is to make sure that we react in a proportionate way. But if necessary, you can be assured we will do what is necessary to defend our cities, our people, our infrastructure.
Okay. So Poland also had a response to this. Have you ever checked the ingredients in your toothpaste? Most toothpaste on the market are filled with harsh chemicals and additives like triclosan, sulfates, and titanium dioxide, which can pose risks with long-term use. You use them every day hoping for a healthier smile, but end up with irritated gums, sensitive teeth, and sketchy chemicals. Well, it's time to swap the chemicals out for peptides. Introducing Smile Peptide Toothpaste from the Wellness Company, a breakthrough peptide paste designed to help reverse gum loss through mouth regeneration. Formulated with active peptides to support gum regrowth, nanohydroxyapatite to strengthen while remineralizing teeth, and PAP Plus to gently whiten without sensitivity. Smile helps you build a truly healthy mouth while staying fluoride-free. Ready to make the switch? Get 15% off plus free shipping. Head to twc.health/Kim and use code Kim. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow. Poland, this is a representative for Poland talking about Russia entering their airspace using drones. Now, Russia said that, well, it wasn't us. You know, they denied it, and they basically said that Ukraine maybe hijacked some of their drones and sent them into Poland just to scare Poland to get more support for Ukraine. And then there was talks of, well, maybe it was an accident. And Poland says, we don't care if it was an accident. If you do it again, you're going to pay for it. Watch this.
But the potential for criminal, catastrophic Russian mistakes is still there. By ordering mobilization in 1914, you precipitated the start of World War I, which bled Europe white and led to your Bolshevik Revolution. By signing the Hitler-Stalin Pact, you helped launch World War II, the bloodiest in history. By Sovietizing Central Europe, you caused the Cold War. Don't start another one. We are peaceful democracies who have studiously avoided actively joining your attempt to reconquer Ukraine. But we will not be intimidated. I have only one request to the Russian government. If another missile or aircraft enters our space without permission, deliberately or by mistake, and gets shot down and the wreckage falls on NATO territory, please don't come here to whine about it. You have been warned. Thank you.
You have been warned. Interesting also to point out that in this warning, Poland talking to Russia, he blames them for both World War I and World War II. And this is an interesting historical point. Poland disagrees with the rest of the West. Germany has taken full responsibility for World War II. They don't put the blame on anybody but themselves. But Poland actually puts the blame equally on Germany and Russia. Same thing with World War I. They blame Russia. So Poland has a history of blaming Russia for both World War I and World War II. Their reasoning on this is that with World War I, when Austria-Hungary attacked Serbia, Russia felt the need to protect Serbia and ordered full mobilization during the July crisis. And that triggered Germany's war plan, which turned what otherwise would have just been a Balkan conflict into an actual European-wide war that eventually produced the Bolshevik Revolution and the Soviet domination. And in 1939, they say that then when Stalin signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Hitler, we're not going to, basically it was kind of a peaceful pact meant to be kind of a what's the word? It's just slipping out of my mind right now. But basically, this allowed Germany to invade Poland. And so they blame Russia for signing this pact that then gave kind of Germany the green light to invade Poland. So Poland actually accuses Russia of starting both wars. Now, with World War I and Germany's war plan, there's a lot of debate with historians on whether or not Russia knew the full extent of Germany's war plan. That Germany was going to, once they declare war with Russia, that they would then invade into France. And they did pretty much at that time. I mean, they declared war on Russia, I think, August 1st, and then marched into France on August 3rd. And so the historians debate how much the Soviets knew on that. Some say, oh, the Soviets knew. They knew exactly that they were triggering a war. And others say, no, they really didn't think that that Germany would respond so quickly, and they didn't really know what the exact war plan was. So some say they were sleepwalking into war. Others say, no, Russia absolutely knew what they were doing, and that's kind of Poland's position. So that's why Poland puts the blame on World War I and World War II onto Russia and says, you're to blame for World War I and World War II, and you're about to start World War III, so you better knock it off. Whereas the rest of the West takes a different viewpoint when it comes to World War II. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you think as to who started World War I and World War II, and if you think if there was any fault with Russia or not. But certainly Poland has this feeling, and they have this. So this is why Poland is so aggressive towards Russia. This is why Poland feels like Germany and Russia were both invaders of their country. So they feel like they just, rather than Russia being this liberator, they viewed them as a second invader. So they don't like Russia, to put it simply, really simply. And they feel like they're really the ones who start wars, and they're about to start World War III. So that's where we're at with this. I mean, this is very scary if it's true that Russia is testing. You know, of course, Russia's going to deny it and say, oh, it was an accident. We didn't mean to fly our fighter jets into your airspace. Oh, it was an accident. We didn't mean to send drones into your airspace. Of course, they're going to deny it. But experts claim that Russia's actually testing NATO defenses and testing NATO reaction and trying to see what NATO will do, because Russia's gearing up for an actual full-on, all-out war with the West. Of course, Russia wouldn't be alone in this battle. They would have China, North Korea on their side. North Korea has nukes, remember that, and that's kind of scary. They would have Venezuela, Iran. They would have plenty of other countries in the world that would be on their side. So this really could be the beginning of World War III, especially with Hegseth telling all the generals and all the admirals to get their asses to Washington next week. That's pretty scary. Hopefully, like I said, it's just for, some sort of bro fest with all the military top brass. We can all hope for that, but it's probably, with the way Trump is talking, with the way the Kremlin's talking, with the actions of the Kremlin and now the actions of Washington, it is looking actually more like we are headed more into a direct hot war. I think what this shows us is right now, I hope that there's a lot of people around Trump that can talk sense into him. It might not be Trump's fault. I mean, we have to remember there's always two to tango. It could be Russia that's actually saying we're declaring war on you now. We haven't been able to come to an agreement. You're not willing to do what we want. And so now we're declaring war. It's very possible that Russia has that viewpoint. And it could be that we can't prevent it, or it could be that it's preventable. I don't know. But I'm really hoping that we're not marching finally after 75 years of a Cold War into a hot war with Russia. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.